Most men assume that when a woman is attracted to them, her behavior improves. She becomes warmer, more responsive, easier to talk to. That assumption is backward. I've watched this pattern repeat too many times to ignore it. When a woman is genuinely interested in a man, something breaks in her social calibration. Not visibly, not dramatically, but if you know what you're looking for, it's unmistakable. She becomes worse at interacting with him, not because she's trying less, because she's trying harder in the wrong direction. The version of her that was smooth, confident, playful, that version exists, just not with him. Here's what actually happens. When a woman doesn't care about the outcome, when there's no internal pressure, when the man in front of her registers as socially acceptable but romantically irrelevant, she operates at full capacity. Her timing is sharp. Her responses flow. She can flirt effortlessly because none of it costs her anything. There's no risk, no evaluation happening in the background. She's performing, but the performance has no stakes. That's the version most men mistake for interest. Now put the same woman in front of someone she actually wants. The entire system recalibrates. Suddenly there's something to lose. Suddenly her brain is running two processes at once: what she's saying and how what she's saying is being received. That split focus doesn't make her more engaged, it makes her clumsy. She hesitates before responding. She second-guesses phrasing mid-sentence. Jokes that would normally land don't, because the timing is just slightly off. She's mentally reviewing her own behavior in real time, and that review process creates lag. The ease disappears. What's left is someone who seems less capable than she actually is. Men read this as disinterest, or nerves, or lack of chemistry. What they don't read it as, what almost no one reads it as, is attraction functioning backward. This isn't about shyness. Shy women behave consistently. This is about competence that vanishes selectively. A woman can be entirely comfortable in social settings, articulate in professional environments, effortlessly charming with men she doesn't care about, and then turn stiff and awkward the moment the interaction actually matters to her. The mechanism isn't emotional, it's operational. When outcome matters, performance drops. Not because she's overwhelmed, because her attention splits. Part of her is still in the conversation. The other part is calculating whether she's coming across the way she wants to. That divided focus shows up as friction. And here's the part that makes this difficult to detect. She doesn't announce it. There's no visible shift. She doesn't suddenly become shy or withdrawn. She's still talking, still responding, still present. But if you compare her behavior with men she's not interested in versus men she is, the contrast is sharp. With the former, she's fluid. With the latter, she's effortful. Men usually notice this gap, but they interpret it in reverse. They assume the ease they see with other men is what attraction looks like. So when they experience the friction version, they think something's wrong. They think she's not interested. They think the connection isn't there. What they're actually seeing is the cost of her caring about the outcome. This shows up in specific ways. Response time increases, not because she's playing games, but because she's editing herself before sending. She becomes more careful with word choice. She laughs less freely, not because she's uncomfortable, but because she's monitoring whether her reactions seem appropriate. She's less likely to tease, less likely to escalate, less likely to take conversational risks. All of this reads as distance. None of it is. The paradox is that the woman who seems most comfortable around a man is often the one least affected by him. The one who seems slightly off, slightly less smooth than she should be. That's where the actual signal is. But men are trained to read confidence as interest and hesitation as rejection. So they move toward the wrong signal and away from the right one. This creates a feedback loop that compounds the problem. The man interprets her hesitation as disinterest and reduces his own investment. She notices the shift in his energy and assumes her intuition was correct, that something is off between them. So she pulls back further, not out of strategy, but out of recalibration. He reads that pullback as confirmation, and the gap widens. Neither person is lying. Neither person is playing games. They're both responding to what they think they're seeing. But what they're seeing is being filtered through incompatible interpretive frameworks. This dynamic doesn't self-correct. If anything, it reinforces itself. The more a woman wants the interaction to go well, the more she monitors her own behavior. The more she monitors, the less natural she becomes. The less natural she becomes, the more the man interprets her behavior as disinterest. And the more he pulls back, the more her performance continues to degrade, because now she's not just managing her own behavior, she's trying to compensate for his withdrawal. It's a closed loop, and neither side sees it for what it is. Here's what makes this especially difficult to navigate. The woman herself usually doesn't recognize what's happening. She's not thinking, I'm too interested, so I'm performing poorly. She's thinking, why is this harder than it should be? She notices the gap between how she normally operates and how she's operating now, but she doesn't connect it to attraction. She connects it to him. She assumes something about his energy is making her uncertain. She assumes the chemistry is off, which means both people are misreading the same interaction in opposite directions. The version of her that's relaxed, playful, and socially fluid, that version shows up when the stakes are low, when there's nothing to protect, when she's interacting with men she's already written off, or men she's categorized as harmless, or men she's engaging with purely for social practice. Those interactions cost her nothing, so she performs well. But when she's in front of someone she's actually evaluating, someone she's measuring against an internal standard, someone whose perception of her matters, everything tightens, not visibly, not in a way that announces itself, but in a way that changes how she moves through the conversation. And the man on the receiving end of that shift almost never identifies it correctly. Men are used to women who pursue them being obvious, increased attention, increased availability, increased warmth. That's the model they're working with. So when a woman becomes less smooth, less verbally playful, less immediately responsive, they interpret it as the opposite of interest. They don't consider that what they're seeing might be the result of her trying to manage an outcome she actually cares about. What complicates this further is that women don't all express this the same way. Some become quieter, others overcompensate by talking more, but the content becomes less coherent. Some withdraw physically, less eye contact, more distance, stiffer body language. Others do the opposite and become hyper-aware of every gesture, which makes those gestures feel forced. The common thread isn't the behavior itself, it's the loss of automaticity. Whatever she normally does without thinking suddenly requires conscious effort. And conscious effort, no matter how well executed, never looks the same as natural flow. Men pick up on that difference. They just don't interpret it correctly. They sense something is off, but they categorize it as lack of attraction rather than the presence of it. This is why the women men assume are most into them are often the ones least affected by them. It's why the woman who seems like she's pulling back might be the one most invested. And it's why men consistently misidentify which interactions are going well and which aren't. The signal they're reading as green is often neutral. The signal they're reading as red is often the only one that matters. There's another layer to this that gets missed. When a woman is with a man she's not interested in, she's free to experiment. She can test different communication styles, try out new jokes, adjust her tone without consequence. If something doesn't land, it doesn't matter. She's not losing anything. That freedom creates the illusion of chemistry. But with a man she's actually drawn to, that experimentation stops. She defaults to what feels safest. She edits more. She risks less. The range of her behavior narrows, and what's left is a more controlled, more cautious version of herself. To the man, it reads as though she's less engaged. To her, it feels like she's being more careful because the outcome matters. Both interpretations are technically true. Neither captures what's actually happening. Once this pattern is visible, it doesn't go away. You start noticing it everywhere. The woman who's effortlessly charming with men at a party, but awkward one-on-one with someone she actually likes. The woman who's sharp and funny over text with casual acquaintances, but stilted and careful with someone she's trying to impress. The woman who seems entirely comfortable until the stakes shift, and then suddenly doesn't. It's not a flaw in her. It's not a flaw in him. It's a structural mismatch between how attraction operates internally and how it presents externally. And almost no one is reading it correctly.